Mr. Griffith for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Gunner, let me ask you this question, and here's the concern. Our retail gas folks, and you've heard the questions earlier, and I'm not going to go back through the history about E15, and we heard about the question on, legal liability for the person if they put the wrong fuel into the engine for a car that's pre-2001. Of course, I'm driving a 2003, and I don't know whether that'll impact them a little bit or not, but for these older cars, we've heard about that, and you're going to get us an answer, and I appreciate that. But one of the concerns that a lot of the folks who sell the gas, the convenience stores and the gas stations, is quite frankly, they're also concerned that, if they decide that they're going to sell the E15 alongside E10, what happens, what is the risk to them that your agency will hit them with a violation of the Clean Air Act? And there's some concern, they gave me some history on it, because apparently when they were switching from, unleaded fuel to leaded fuel, if the gas station owner didn't go out and physically say, no, you can't buy, that's the wrong car for that unleaded gas or for that leaded gas, they got fined, and it appears the fines can be assessed for up to $37,500. So what I'm asking you is that there have been some indications that certainly your agency wouldn't go in that direction, but we have nothing in writing to assure these folks. I'm asking you, can you get us something in writing that will assure the convenience store operators, the gas station operators, that if they're trying to do what's right, they're not going to be fined when a consumer comes up and puts the wrong kind of gas into the vehicle?
Just to clarify, sir, they're not going to be. The question is, will they be fined by
for CAA
the government if
yes.
a consumer ignores the label and
That's the question, yes, sir.
I'd be happy to take that back and talk to my counsel and see what our response would be.
Well, it would seem to me that, we've heard testimony that it's going to be difficult to get the E15, that it's going to be difficult to use, that there are going to be some problems. We've got a question about legal liability. It would seem to me at the very least that's something that the government ought to be able to do, is to reassure these folks that on top of all the other headaches in trying to move forward with this program, that they don't have to worry about the government coming in and hitting them with a pretty hefty fine. Because if you're a small retailer, not a big chain, maybe the big chains can handle it, but the small retailer, that's a lot of money. Particularly in a district like mine where the average household income is only $36,000 a year. That's, annual salary for somebody.
I understand. And in fact, this issue was just brought to my attention yesterday by the head of the Association of these kinds of businesses.
Sure.
So we're listening very carefully, and if there are any kind of barriers that EPA is putting in the way, we'd like to address those.
I appreciate that. Dr. Glauber, you've talked a little bit about the fuel cost, the corn costs going up affecting the cost of food, but don't we also have a situation where it affects those livestock dealers? And I think you just mentioned that some of them are liquidating their herds, and isn't it maybe the unintentional consequence that we've helped the row farmers, but we've hurt all these other farmers? And it's certainly not the intent of the government to hurt the livestock, poultry, and dairy farmers, is it?
Well, it's certainly the case that if you look from 2005 to current, that profits in those industries have declined. And it's no mystery, it's due to higher feed costs. It's been exacerbated, and particularly over the last year, exacerbated by the drought, which not only shot up feed prices, but also reduced pasture conditions in most of the U.S.
And wouldn't we expect at some point on the food inflation, I mean, not only because the feed costs went up, but because the liquidation of some of those herds, that at some point there may be pressure upward on the price of beef particularly?
Well, again, that is how inflation typically occurs in those industries. I would just point out that one thing.
Be quick because I'm running out of time. I got another question. That's okay. I'll get the rest of it from you at a later time because it is important that
I apologize.
That's all right. No. Look, we're trying to get some information here, and the problem is these industries I think should factor in on a decision when you're hurting these industries on waivers. But last year I was one of the congressmen that wrote a letter asking for a waiver, and this is coming back to you, Mr. Gundler. The governor of Virginia asked for a waiver trying to help our farmers out. Do you need new legislation because the waiver wasn't granted at a time when I think it probably screamed to be granted? Do you need new legislation, or do you think that the EPA can actually look at these waivers in an unbiased manner and grant some of these waivers when, like last year, we had a drought? It's affecting the farmers in my district, and I have an agriculture and coal district. There's two of my big industries, and we're under attack on coal. Now it seems like agriculture is not getting any help when it needs it. Isn't there some waiver process, or do you need me to put it in a bill?
Well, of course, it's completely up to Congress in terms of how you'd like the EPA to administer these authorities. You gave us a pretty stringent test, which was severe economic harm, and that the RFS is responsible for that. Again, based on all the information and the objective analysis we did in response to the Governor of Virginia's request, we determined that the demand for ethanol is such that waiving the RFS would not have influenced that demand, would not have influenced feed prices, would not have influenced corn prices at all.
I would just say that my farmers in my district, I can't speak to the rest of the country, disagree, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman's